The first reference to Israel outside the Hebrew Bible is on the Meneptah stele, a slab of black granite engraved in the days of Pharaoh Meneptah, successor to Ramses II, the man some scholars identify as the Pharaoh of the Exodus. It says, "Israel is laid waste. Her seed is no more." The first reference to Israel outside the Bible is an obituary. Israel's enemies thought it was dead. More than 32 centuries, half the history of civilization later, we can still say, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people lives. Not only Jews, but people like Blaise Pascal, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Leo Tolstoy saw in this survival something miraculous, as if an invisible hand had written out of the lives of Jews across the generations a story about human possibility, about a journey from slavery to freedom across a great wilderness of space and time to a land of promise and hope. How did a people survive for 20 centuries without a state, a home, a place where they could defend themselves? How did they sustain their identity when everywhere they were a minority? How did faith survive the massacres and pogroms when Jews called and heaven seemed silent? That's what astonished Pascal, Rousseau and Tolstoy before the 20th century. But today, the question is so much deeper. How could a people ravaged by the Holocaust survive that trauma and put their faith in life again? How could a nation that had not known independence or sovereignty for 2,000 years take it up again? How could they, with so little, build a land, a state, a society, a culture that has achieved so much? How, under constant threat of war and terror, surrounded by enemies pledged to their destruction, could they sustain a free and democratic society in a part of the world that had never known it? Create an economy with outstanding achievements in agriculture, science, medicine and technology, produce a culture rich in art and music, poetry and prose? How, out of the most diverse population, could they shape an identity? How could they build not only great secular universities, but also thriving yeshivot, so that the words of Isaiah could come true in our time, that Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, Torah will come forth from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem? How, so soon after the nightmare, could they realize so many dreams? Somehow, in ways I don't fully understand, the Jewish people has been touched by a power greater than ourselves, that's led our ancestors and contemporaries time and again to defy the normal parameters of history. Somehow heaven and earth met in the Jewish heart, lifting people to do what otherwise seemed impossible. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." The Jewish axiom is different. Ani ma'amin, I believe, therefore I am. One of the great songs of modern times, written for the film Prince of Egypt, says it in words that summarize the whole history of Israel, from ancient times to today. There can be miracles when you believe.
Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe, though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe, somehow you win. You will when you believe. In this time of fear, when prayer so often proved in vain, hope seemed like the summer birds too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here with heart so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe, somehow you win. You will when you believe. Ashira Lashem Kigola Mi Chamol Chamol Eilim Hamashem Mi Chamol Chanet Avam HaKodesh Nachi Chamechas Tacham Hamzu Gavakam Nachi Chamechas Tacham Hamzu Gavakam Ashira Ashira Ashira
It was the most haunting of all prophetic visions. The prophet Ezekiel saw a valley of dry bones, a heap of skeletons. God asked him, "Son of man, can these bones live?" Ezekiel replied, "God, you alone know." Then the bones came together and grew flesh and skin, and began to breathe and live again. Then God said, "Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up. Of that tikvatenu, our hope is lost. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what God says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. It was this passage that Naftali Herz Imber was alluding to in 1877 when he wrote in the song that became Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, the phrase Od lo avda tikvatenu, our hope is not yet lost. Little could he have known that 70 years later 1/3 of the Jewish people would have become in Auschwitz and Treblinka and Bergen-Belsen a valley of dry bones. Who could have been blamed for saying, our bones are dried up, our hope is lost? And yet, a mere 3 years after standing eyeball to eyeball with the angel of death, the Jewish people, by proclaiming the State of Israel, made a momentous affirmation of life, as if it had heard across the centuries the echo of God's words to Ezekiel, Veheveti etchem el admat Yisrael, I will bring you back to the land of Israel. And a day will one day come when the story of Israel in modern times will speak not just to Jews, but to all who believe in the power of the human spirit as it reaches out to God, as an everlasting symbol of the victory of life over death, hope over despair. Israel has taken a barren land and made it bloom again. It's taken an ancient language, the Hebrew of the Bible, and made it speak again. It's taken the West's oldest faith and made it young again. It's taken a tattered, shattered nation and made it live again. Israel is the country whose national anthem, Hatikva, means hope. Israel is the home of hope.
כל עוד בלבב אני אמר נפש יהודי הומיה ולפת מזרח קדימה עין לציון צופיה עוד נולדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות המבושים בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים